Okay guys, so I've been complaining for a little while about my AMD AP machine for video editing, how slow it's been and whatnot, and saying, I need to upgrade to an Intel quad-core at least to get these videos out. Not trying anything too crazy, 1080p, but really it's time for an upgrade as far as that goes. So here you can see the i5-4590. This is a locked processor running at 3.3 gigahertz with a turbo of 3.7, but it's actually 3.5 with all cores enabled. And then here you can see the motherboard I got. This is the ROG from Asus RG Maximus 6 Gene. This is obviously quite overkill board for this. Won't get into it now, but you guys probably heard my rant about SuperBiz. This was on sale for 160 bucks, so I went in and grabbed it. I'm not going to have to worry about it burning out or anything. And I've really honestly never owned a ROG product from Asus, so a lot of it was just curiosity to see if they're actually as good as they say they are. So here you can see I'm going through the features of the board. One of the things that really sold me, even though this is an older Z87 board, is all the refresh and Devil's Canyon chips work with it. If they don't, you can use a function called USB flashback and just flash the BIOS even without the RAM or CPU installed. That's really going to help out in that case, and it's also got really good onboard audio, SLI, and even supports M.2 SSDs. So inside the box we got 6 SATA cables here. The M Combo 2 card, I believe is what it's called. SLI bridge with the ROG branding on it. Kind of silly. Just replace that with the EVGA one probably. The I/O backplate shield. It's nice and padded on the other side, so I always love that. 2 Q connectors, one for the front panel. I didn't know that they gave you one for USB 2, but I thought that was interesting. Stickers, you can put these on your SATA cables if you got a lot of hard drives to keep track of which hard drive is what. Then we got a door hanger to keep people out if you're silly like that. And then we've got the manual that came in the box, and inside the manual, of course, is the driver disc with the ROG logo, which is cool, but the disc, I just kind of toss it. And now we have an empty box. Okay, so this is the Pro Belt. What this is for is if you're doing some extreme overclocking, you can actually use a multimeter instead of relying on the motherboard sensors to tell you what is the correct voltage that's going on. Sometimes they're a little bit off, so a lot of overclockers like to use this, and this is an interesting feature. I've never seen this on a micro ATX board as far as I can recall. Okay, here we have the battery placement and case fan 3 header right above the first PCI slot. And you can see some of the ESD protection there. Here we have the Q-code LED debug display. This will tell you like if something's wrong with the board, it'll flash a code, you can see what's going on. If you have a problem with the RAM, right next to it is the Mem OK button. You press that to zero out your RAM. We got another case fan header and actually a pin there for LN2 mode, and this will take the safeties, voltage safeties off the board, so you can do some liquid nitrogen crazy overclock stuff with this, which I would never intend to do. Here we have some LEDs. These LEDs will basically if something's wrong with the CPU, like the CPU LED will turn on, so it kind of makes it a little bit easier instead of using the debug code. And we have USB 3 header right below 24 pin. Here we have 8 SATA 6G hard drive or SSD connectors. So the first 6 here are actually controlled by the Z87 chipset, and the second set here is controlled by the ASMedia 1061 controller. The chipset heatsink, stupidly overbuilt and thick. Front panel header. Fan header. This is direct key, so you press this and you launch directly into BIOS when the system's off, and there's this 2-pin header above it that I have my reset switch set to, so I can launch into the BIOS from just hitting that. Trusted platform header, only one USB 2.0 front panel header. This header is for Asus's front panel LCD connector, start and reset, and HD audio connector. Then we got the Supreme FX portion with the ELN8 caps. Here, right next to the socket, we've got some of the Blackwing chokes. This is a 8-phase power for the CPU, and some of the 10K capacitors, and this has their NextFET MOSFET underneath the heatsink. There's the 1150 sockets. Here you can see some of the 10K Nichicon capacitors with two of the Blackwing chokes. These are rated at 60 amps. The little fins on them are supposed to help with cooling, but interesting enough, they got rid of that for the new Gen 7 on the Z97 platform. And the Asus in gold is actually supposed to be real gold. It's supposed to help with the conductive properties of these chokes. Here you can see the top of the heatsink with that heat pipe going through the middle there, and two of the CPU fan connectors. One's for, if you say you have water cooling, you can hook up the water pump to one, and the other one's for, say, the fan to the liquid cooling rad. Here at the back of the board, I thought it was important to show this. So you can see they actually used real screws instead of push pins to mount all the heat sinks, which I always think is important for a sort of like a higher class motherboard like this. And the nice thing here is the mounting plate goes all the way across the MOSFETs and actually offers cooling on the back as well. Here we have the ROG branded SLI bridge, nice flexible bridge. Here we have the MPCIe Combo 2 card. This is nice because with this motherboard it actually came with it, and it offers connectivity for M.2 and a micro PCI express slot for, say, wireless. On the new Z97 board, you actually have to pay an additional $50 to get this. And here you can actually see some of the pinouts that go to the motherboard and the little bracket that you can screw into the motherboard. On this side here we have the mini PCIe for your wireless module. You can get any module you want, swap it in there with Bluetooth or whatever, and some of the LEDs for some of the activity on this side. On the opposite side, this is for your NGFF SSD or M.2, and this supports, you know, through PCI at 1 times up to 4 times speed, so you can get pretty fast SSDs on this thing. On the back we have the buttons for Clear CMOS and ROG Connect. We have 4 USB 2.0, 6 USB 3.0, HDMI out, optical out, gigabit LAN, and 7.1 audio connectivity in the back. I built this computer inside of a Fractal Design Define Mini. I've actually had this case for a few years now and I love it. It's a silence optimized case, so everything's nice and quiet. You can see there I've got it connected with a GTX 760 for now. I want to add a second one in the future. Up here you can see the debug LED in action on boot. And it just flashes the codes as things go on. If anything's wrong, it'll show you what's wrong with the board. And here's a look at the start and reset buttons lit up, and the separation line and Supreme FX chip there all lit up. It's pretty much the only two parts of the board that do light up besides the debug LED. And this photo here shows the spacing between the graphics card and the heatsink I have on there. And between the audio jacks on the back and the top of the heatsink back plate. Sometimes that's an issue. Here you can actually see some of the wiring I've done in the back. Not the best at it, but with this case it gives me plenty of room. I've never had any problems snaking the wires in the back and getting the side panel to fit. It gives me plenty of room. So, you know, not the best at cable management, but I believe that this case does a pretty good job. There's plenty of tie downs right below the CPU cutout there. And there's tie downs all along the grommet holes on the back of the motherboard tray, which makes it really nice and handy to get everything nice and tidy the way you want it. Back of the motherboard tray does offer 6 cable routing holes with rubber grommets. The grommets have held up pretty well over 2 years, although they have dried out a bit, but it makes cable routing all that much easier. This case has 2 hard drive cages with the top one removable with 3 slits each. The slits offer rubber grommets for 3.5-inch mounting of mechanical hard drives to eliminate the vibration, and also has holes for 2.5-inch SSDs. The cage can be rotated to 90 degrees here, as you can see, so you can get better airflow to your components. Or with the cage removed, you can get longer graphics cards past the 260mm up to 400mm in length. Here you can see on the side panels they have a nice sound deadening material to keep the noise and vibration of the case down. And this is one of the removable panels for what they call their module-vent design, so you can keep these in to keep the sound out, or if you need extra airflow you can remove it to add an extra fan on both the side and top of the case. Both the side panel and the top of the case offer mounting points for 120 and 140mm fans. Here you can see the bottom case dust filter. It covers the power supply fan there, which I have modded with a nice white fan to match the Fractal case. And there's another mounting point for a bottom mounted 120mm fan to help cool maybe like your graphics cards. The front of the case here has a front panel door to keep the sound out, but to get the air drawn into the case we have these side vents here for the 2 120mm fans. The front of the door has this simulated brushed aluminum look to it, and it is magnetically held to the case. There's no actual physical latch there. On the inside there's sound deadening foam to help keep the sound from the fans out. And on top we've got 2 5.25-inch bays for optical drives, or say maybe like a reservoir for custom cooling loop. Here on the side we have the reset switch, and these 2 panels here unlatch and open so you can get to the dust covers for the 2 120mm fans, which unfortunately I don't have any Fractal fans right now, so they're Xigmateks. On the back here we've got 2 grommet holes for water cooling tubes, 120mm fan, exhaust fan, 4 PCI expansion slots here, and a vertical extra PCI expansion slot for the fan controller or something else, maybe like USB, and bottom mounted power supply here. You can see I'm using a CX600 from Corsair. And with the system looking this nice now, the only problem is when you put the side panel on, you can't see it. So I had a conversation with Josh Smith of Fractal Design, and I asked him, could the Arc Mini panel we see here fit on the Define Mini case? And he said he had to talk to his engineers and see if that was possible. And I said, yeah, it'd be cool if it could. I just order one up and just put it on here instead of cutting a hole in the side of my case to put a window in there. And next day he came back and said, I talked to my engineers and they said it would fit, and he just asked for an address and said I'll send you one out to you. So I want to thank Josh for sending me this side panel here for the Arc Mini. It works great and makes everything look nice. The color of the paint on it is a little bit off, and I think maybe the paint on my case faded a tad bit over the years, but it matches the front panel perfectly, which makes me kind of believe it. But as you can see here with the smoked out window, it looks ballin'. So I'd like to thank the people at Fractal Design one more time, and Fractal Josh for sending this window. I think it looks pretty cool. If you guys would like to see a version of the Define Mini with a window on the side, you guys should go bug the people at Fractal Design. I will leave a link down to their contacts page where you can do that. And when I make future upgrades to this, I will post more videos up showing that. But in the meantime, you guys can follow me at Cell Processing on Twitter, and you can go to our new website, which I'll also have a link down at the bottom, for the new Final Save Point website, as well as the YouTube page. So until then, see you guys later, stay safe, and bye.